There are many elements to the Chrome developer tools, and the first one that you can see that I've got on the screen here is the Elements panel. And as you can see to the right, we have the Networks panel, Sources, Timeline, Profiles, Resources, Audits, and Console. In this video, we're going to focus on the Elements panel though. And just below this, you'll see that we have our web page source code. And you can see that we have these arrows, these little triangles that help us expand and collapse different areas within our web page. And as we mouse over each element, you'll notice it's highlighting a different area of the web page in the upper panel. Now over on the right hand side, we have our CSS. So whenever we click on any element within our web page, it shows us the styles, the CSS that we have set for that piece of the HTML page. And it allows us to look at all the different elements that are set to help style that specific part of the web page. So here we can see the border, the margin, the padding, and so on. Now a real handy feature that we have in the development tools is this little spyglass. When we open up the developer tools, if I right click on the web page and choose inspect element, the actual HTML actually gets shown for the actual element that I clicked on the web page. But if I want to use the spyglass, I can then move around the web page and choose the element that I want to concentrate on. Once I give it a click, it then takes us to that place within the HTML for that element. And also you'll notice as I hover over, it gives us a little tooltip to give us some information about the element. So here you can see it's an anchor link, it's got A, and it's got the dimensions, 114 pixels across by 42 pixels high. Now not only that, we can also see the padding and margin that the element is taking up. So if I hover over this box here, you can see there's a slight space to the left hand side to indicate we've got margin. And if I click on it, it actually shows us the HTML for that element. Now also, if I select it again and just hover around different elements of the page, I showed you on the Contact Us, it was an anchor, it was an A element. If I go to the title here, we can see that's an anchor as well, but it has a post title class attached to it. If I come down here, we can see that's a P, so that's a paragraph element. So the tooltip gives us additional information depending on what element we are hovering over. Now, if I focus on the header and give it a click, we jump to the HTML that represents this header, and you can see it's inside a H2 tag. But over on the right hand side, you can see it's showing us the CSS styling for that header. Now one of the great things with these developer tools is we can turn on and off the different styles for whatever we're focusing on the web page. So for example, with this header here, I can turn off the font size and it changes the font size on the page. So we can dynamically see the effect that this specific CSS style has on the header in real time. Turn off line height, nothing changes there. Let's turn off color, and we can see it's gone to a red, the default color that's been inherited from a higher level CSS item. And not only that, we can actually edit the properties of the CSS. So if I come to font size, and we can see it's set to 22, I could change it to 32. And there you can see the effect, it's increased the size on the page. And if I want to use the cursor keys when we're in a numeric field like this, you'll see it's nice and easy for us to increment and decrease the value just using the cursor keys. Now also, I've just set this to 36 pixels. We could change it to a different measurement. So instead of using pixels, I could say 1 EM. And then I'll use the cursor keys to go up. And you can see how that's affecting the font. Now back over on the left hand side, we can edit the HTML that we have here as well. So if I want to change the text that appears here on the heading, all I need to do is find the entry in the HTML, right click and choose Edit Text. And then I can write anything I wish here. Press enter and it changes it in real time. Now do bear in mind that the changes we are making here are only visible for us in our developer tools. So when we make this change, it's only being changed on the web page that we have on the screen. If somebody else visits this web page, they're going to see the default web page that comes from the server. And that's exactly the same for us. If we want to go back to the start, all I need to do is refresh the web page and we're back at the start. Now the Elements panel is really useful for debugging like I mentioned earlier. So as an example, let's have a look at this box here. You can see that we've got a background color and maybe we don't know if we're using an image for the background or whether we're using some CSS styling to make this radius effect. So what we can do is right click, choose Inspect Element, and let me click the magnifying glass so we're on the right thing. There we go. So we have div class box inner. Hold on, let me get this right. Here we go. It's this one here, this div here for the full outline of the box. We can see that we have this class of round box. And we can see we have some styling elements as well. But if we look on the right hand side, for the actual CSS elements of the round box, we can see that indeed we are using the radius, the border radius element of the CSS, and we're not using an image. So just like anything else, we can come in here and we can turn off this element. There we go. So then we have a nice sharp right angle and turn it back on. And also we can amend the values so we get a slightly different look. So that covers the main features of the Elements panel.